Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
Everybody, and welcome back to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmie. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us. We are excited today for another. Oh, yeah. We're excited every day. Crime and Sports lives to fight another day, and it does today. And we have a really fun episode. And this is the type of episode that we couldn't do in the old format because we couldn't fill 3 hours with it. But the story's so crazy, it needs to be told, and it's a wild story. Before we get into that, very quickly, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get your tickets for live shows. 2023 Small Town Murder live shows. First one's up February 10th in Cleveland, February 11th in St. Louis, and those are going quick. Quick, as Biggie said. Come on if you're coming. Get those tickets because they're not going to be there for a long time. Shutupandgivememurder.com right now. Head over to also patreon.com/crimeinsports is where you get all the bonus material. Right. So much bonus material. Anybody $5 or above, you get the whole back catalog, and
it's so thick.
So over 150 episodes, and you are going to get, of course, every other week 2 new bonus episodes. One Crime and Sports, one Small Town Murder. You get access to it all. This week, what you're going to get for Crime and Sports, we're going to talk about players attacking fans. Yes, that came up with Ty Cobb of him having that during that time period. It was a very common thing to happen. And it kept happening, and we've talked about the Vernon Maxwells and stuff before, but we'll find some kind of lesser-known ones and talk about it when players attack fans. And then for Small Town Murder, we're going to talk about Nazis on drugs. Hey, yes. What the hell was wrong? And we're talking Nazis, Germans in the 40s here, the 30s and 40s, and what were they on? Obviously, we know the army was on meth, but what were the leadership on to come up with these fucking ideas? We'll find out all about it because it is a wild scene. Speedballs and all sorts of crazy shit. It's crazy. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of that and more. The more is a shout out because you're going to get a shout out at the end of the show where Jimmie's going to mispronounce your name. Even though he would love to get it correct. He really would. But he's
trying real hard.
He's certainly not going to, though. So that said, let's get into this. We have a wild show here because this guy's nuts and one of the weirdest endings we've ever had in a story, ever.
Oh, tell me more.
We're going to talk about John Brisker.
Oh.
Brisker. John Brisker. You've never heard of him, probably.
Never.
We mentioned him a bit in the ABA bonus episode we talked about because he is one of the legends of the ABA in terms of fighting. And
is that right?
Also, he's a great player, but he's described as later on by a teammate as LeBron James with an anger problem. So if you can picture that, he's a big, stocky, good scorer who will just knock you out for no reason. So imagine that, basically, here. John Brisker, his nickname was heavyweight champion of the NBA. So that tells you a lot right there. And ABA before that, then NBA. He's born June 15th, 1947 in Detroit. He is a Hamtramck. How the hell do you say that? It's a part of Detroit here. Hamtramck, Michigan is the high school he went to here. Okay. Now, his brother said it started early with the fighting.
Yeah.
His brother Ralph said he never backed down from a good fight. He wouldn't necessarily instigate it, but he wouldn't run away as a child.
Right.
He's a tough guy. Here is an article from February of 1972, a little excerpt from this article from Sport Magazine. And this is a quote from John here because he has teammates later that go, I don't even know where he's from or like if he had a family. I don't know. Like he didn't talk about that stuff at all. So
fascinating.
to get kind of background on him is doesn't happen very
Not
often.
easy, huh?
Not easy. So he says, quote, "We moved 15 to 20 times when I was growing up, getting out of places because we couldn't pay the rent. When I started high school, I lived at the back end of a project. There was a basketball court 15 feet from our door. It was all dirt then. I had a lot of things frustrating me, so I take my frustrations outside and get rid of them shooting a basketball." That makes sense. "I used basketball to forget living in that place. I knew by then there were better things, that other people had nice things. I'd ask myself, why can't we have them? If the world is so stingy, so corrupt that they could put me in that little spot in the project and make me stay there, man, the project is a trip. My whole life was that lousy project in school. I'd go from the project to school to a job and back to the project. I got to asking if there wasn't something else." So, yeah, that's his. He realized early that the world is very difficult because he had it be very difficult for him. So,
as a kid, that hurts because, like, you either look at it in a way of like there's nothing else, there's just this horrible shit, or why is it us? Why do we have to deal with this?
Yeah, and well, when you hear about other obstacles he had to overcome here, like what was wrong with his mom and stuff like that, like you go, Jesus Christ, yeah, he would go, why me? Why does my life suck?
What'd I do?
Yeah, which would explain maybe why he didn't talk about his background too much to his friends.
There's nothing to tell.
A guy later on who has a lot of quotes about him because he wrote a book, a guy named Slick Watts, who was a player with Seattle Supersonics when he was on there, John.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "I never heard too much about his background, his mom, his dad, his brothers and sisters. He never went into that. Very private around his teammates a lot of the times. Not some of them that he was close to would be different. But now mom, her name is Ernestine. She raises 3 children, which there's Ralph, who's the younger brother, and then there's John, who's the second child, and I believe he has a sister, an older sister. So he's from west side of Detroit. His mom is partially paralyzed, so she doesn't get around real well at all.
Did she have a stroke? Do we know?
I don't think we ever find out exactly what happened to her, but she's partially paralyzed. Her husband took off when John was 5. So, old enough to remember him taking off. Yeah. And she sold old clothes and did odd jobs to keep money coming in.
There's no 401k in that.
No, there really isn't.
Jesus.
He started working 8 hours a day, John did, from the time he was 11.
8 hours a day from the time he was
11. 11. And this isn't the 20s. This is the 60s. You know what I mean? Like, it's the late 60s.
Leaving
or the
the house
mid-60s.
with
late
a
50s.
big thermos of coffee as an 11-year-old.
Yeah. Well, I got a long shift tonight. I'm going to see if I can
Heard
pull a double.
Whistle. Gotta go.
I'm going to see if I can pull a double here, get some overtime. He caught pneumonia at a car wash, and then at one point, so he stopped doing the car wash, and then
car wash in Detroit.
Yeah, he was working at a car wash.
You're gonna catch pneumonia that way.
So he became a janitor in a bunch of buildings. So he'd go to school at the day, and then at night he'd do janitorial work around basketball.
In the morning, turn in his keys and sit down and learn.
And then sit down and learn. Did this until he's 18.
Jesus.
And this makes a lot of sense. He says, quote, "I feel like I missed a part of my childhood." Yeah.
I'd say so,
John. The part when you come home from school and don't do a janitorial job for 8 hours when you're 12. That part, probably.
The part where you don't have to do taxes, John.
Holy shit. Yeah, he's like, "Mom, I got to work out. Jesus Christ, my W-2s aren't here yet. This is ridiculous, Mom."
They've lowered head of household, for Christ's sake.
Lucky for him, he's big. Because he turns out to be 6'5", 250. He's a big dude, big strapping, muscular guy. I mean, he looks like a modern NBA player. When you look at his pictures, you go, oh, that guy looks – you could plant him right in today's game, and he would look exactly, like he belongs. He does not – he's not like an out-of-shape guy from back then.
The fold,
he said, "I lied about my age, and I had to keep switching jobs because they'd find out." So he was big enough to be able to go, "Yeah, I'm 16." And they'd go, "Yeah, sure." But then they go, "Oh, you're 12. You can't work here until 11 o'clock at night. That's not allowed." So,
where's your mom?
Well, then he said they tried to take us away from my mother one time, but she got out of the hospital and she struggled. I look at her now and think how easy it would have been for her to just quit and give up. But all 3 of us went to college. So,
yeah, I mean, I see what he's saying, but what?
Yeah.
How easy would it be to quit? what do you do? Is that just suicide? What do you do?
That's what I mean.
To quit and give up at that point?
Limp into the street and get hit by a car? Like what? Put yourself on an ice block in the Lake Michigan and just, I don't know.
Get the bus schedule and just crawl into Fifth Ave or whatever the busy street is in Detroit?
Not sure. Yeah, whatever the hell that is. Yeah, I don't know how you'd quit, but yeah, but John is extremely athletic. His whole family's athletic, as we'll talk about at the end of this too. He first started boxing a bit because he's a fighter, and but he realized that he was just really good at basketball. So he started playing basketball more. He's got a gift. I mean, the guy, as much as he's a fighter, the problem is he's remembered only as a fighter because he fought so much. But then you look at some of his games and some of his stats and you go, holy shit. Like if he wasn't a fighter, this guy would be remembered as an amazing scorer, like a top-tier guy. So he said in Detroit, if you're tough enough, they name playgrounds for you. So that's what he said. And actually, years later, the playground he played in between the high school and some park, some shitty little playground, they named the court after him. Eventually, the city did. So it worked. Yep, his mom had a stroke. That's what happened with the paralyzation. Yeah. He said the government wanted to take us kids away from her, but she went to work and raised us. He actually, in high school, played with Rudy Tomjanovich.
Is that right?
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
Rudy T was a tough son of a bitch.
He was. He's the guy who got hit real hard.
Oh, yeah. That fight.
He got hit real hard. Yeah. Fucked his whole face up, and he's like,
whole life.
Maybe coaching is better for me.
Guy almost exploded. If not for skin, he would have exploded Rudy's face.
His whole head popped up. His hair went poof in that little thing.
Well, the skin's the only thing that held it together.
Yeah. And also Spencer Haywood was there, too. Spencer Haywood will be an ABA star and then end up going to the Lakers later on. Spencer Haywood, he'll make a great episode, too. We'll do him eventually. He's one of these guys that had all the talent in the world and just did so much coke, he fucked it all up. Wow, it's one of those guys. One of those guys where you go, no, you're just he could have been one of the greats. Everybody says. Yeah. So he said they used to drive by a Buick dealership and boast about buying a Buick Electra when they turned pro. When they turned pro, I'm gonna be buying that Buick Electra right there. Can't wait.
Wait till I have my Buick.
Oh man, I'm gonna get my Buick, as all young boys do. We all sit and dream about our future in a Buick. I'm going to get me a bunch of hot women and put them in my Buick and drive away.
You see me in my Sable.
Oh, they're going to love it. That's a Mercury, actually.
Oh, yeah, Mercury. It's a Buick LeSabre.
That's it. There you go. Yeah. The Buick Electra, a deuce and a quarter, he called it, the deuce and a quarter model. He said we had to fight our way throughout Detroit. That was what he said. But he was on a team with Rudy Tomjanovich. Spencer Haywood was went to a different school, so he hung out with them. But they weren't on the same team. A lot of colleges recruited him, Brisker, actually, because he was a big deal. He's a great player, and he thought about going to Michigan State, which is kind of where you go if you're from Detroit. It's kind of a lot of those guys end up at Michigan State. He passed it all up to go to what college? You think? What's he going to pass up the hometown powerhouse for?
DeVry.
Almost. Toledo.
What?
Yeah, not North Carolina or, UCLA. No. Toledo, which he regretted later, he said.
I'm sure. Yeah.
He said, quote, Toledo made me the best offer, car, apartment, wardrobe.
Oh.
That's why he went. Because back then there was just open.
Yeah. And he's a kid from the projects. Oh. You gave me the essentials to run a life. Yeah, I'm going
car,
there.
Apartment, wardrobe, some cash in your hand.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And I play basketball and fuck college girls for the next 4 years. Sounds terrific.
You're going to give me food, shelter, and clothing? Yeah. I'm in. I don't have those.
He said they offered him all that. He said, man, I asked, where do I sign? I didn't care what school it was. He was like, I'm getting all that shit? Great. I don't care where it is. But when it's
fascinating what desperation will do for a person, man.
Yeah. Well, he just didn't know. And he said, but when I got there, I saw people against me because of my color. I hadn't experienced prejudice before, and I started asking questions. I didn't get any answers. I changed then. I got hostile. I wanted to know why I couldn't live in this world, too. I'm still asking. So, yeah, he said in high school, there was no racial shit, which is super weird. And because it was early, it was before all the. Think about this. He's born in 47, so he's in high school in 63, 64. This is before the riots in Detroit and the late 60s. This is before all that. So he said
this is the boom of the auto industry there too. This is a big deal. This looks great.
But it would be him, Rudy T, and Spencer Haywood riding around in the car. And if you don't know who any of those guys are, two of them are big black guys and one of them is a big white guy.
Right.
And they're just hanging out together, which seems fine. But back then it was. He said that was normal for him, and then he got to Toledo, and it was everything. Everybody's kind of separated racially, and he didn't like that at all. And he was like, "What the fuck is this about?" Because he's just used to Detroit. There's black guys, white guys. We all go to the same school. We play on the same team. Whatever,
think about this.
It was different. Yeah, he said he never thought about it before. But in his sophomore year, Toledo was 20-1 and ranked number 10 nationally.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, think about it. Rudy T was a good NBA player, too.
Yeah, and he went there, too.
He went to Toledo also, I think. Yeah, I think he ended up there, too, if I'm not mistaken. So he later on, though, he kind of became less of the focus of the offense when they got a big center, and he was upset with racial conflict. But he didn't just play basketball, Jimmy. He played football in his sophomore year.
For a college team, he's doing both things.
Yeah, and he hadn't played football in high school.
That's a whole new world for him.
That's how beastly athletic he is, and just
unbelievable.
He's a big. I mean, you don't get in his way; he will run you the fuck over. So it makes sense. But
you got a scholarship for basketball, but you're also playing football.
Oh, if that's not enough, you know what else he does?
Is he the janitor?
No, he's not the janitor. That's a good. I was going to say. I'll give you 100 guesses and you'll never guess it. Janitor would have been my first guess, too.
Yeah.
He plays the tuba in the band.
What?
The tuba.
He's a gifted musician, too?
I mean, he plays, I don't know. It seems hard.
It's only a few buttons, though, right?
It seems like half of it is carrying it. Half of the tuba would be carrying it, wielding that thing around, not bumping it into other people in your marching band. That would be part of it.
I'm so tired. I played the tuba today.
Yeah, half a block with a tuba.
Not the playing.
Yeah, man.
The walking is bitch,
man. It's a lot, though. It's just, it's 40. It's like, it's heavy.
My forearms are killing me.
It's real heavy. So the basketball coach didn't want him to play football or play the tuba. He just wanted him to play basketball, and he's like, no, I'm going to play football. And the tuba, he actually got offers for tryouts from 3 NFL teams as well because of his size and athleticism. Back then in the 60s, teams were looking for athletes, and elite athletes didn't go to the NFL. It's not like it is now. The NFL, and you can trace this, and a bunch of the guys from back then have talked about it. It's a big kind of an open thing. In the late 60s, when they started drafting for Vietnam, that's when football started getting elite athletes. Before that, they played baseball. But baseball, if you get signed to a professional contract when you're 18 at a high school and then you can be drafted into the Army and go to Vietnam. But if you go to play football and you're in college for 4 years, you can't get drafted. So a lot of the guys played football to not get drafted into Vietnam. So that's how football, that athlete stream ended up starting to go to football instead of baseball, and it's just continued ever since then.
Wow.
That's absolutely, a lot of the guys said that. I could have played football or baseball, didn't want to get drafted and go to Nam, so I played football. That's how a lot of guys ended up in the NFL.
So when we celebrate in February, we're basically when we have the Super Bowl, we're just basically celebrating thank God for Vietnam.
Thank God, yeah. Vietnam was the best thing to happen to the NFL ever. It literally was, because that's what they do too. Colleges would go to these kids and go, "Listen, I know the Royals are looking at you, or I know I know you're getting looked at by the Tigers, but you go there. I mean, you could get drafted. You'll be in a rice paddy knee deep
tomorrow. Yeah,
It's you could be that. Whereas if you come play with us down at Alabama, it's 4 years. In 4 years, boy, that war will probably be over. We're going to be drafting people in 4 years, and you'll be in the NFL, pal. That's the pitch.
Keep your guts on the inside.
If you're a scared teenager,
yeah,
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
keep your guts on the inside and let's fuck them up.
Let's do it, yeah. We're going to fuck up your brain, not your guts, boy. See, that's what we're going to do. You won't remember your name, but you'll know that you weren't shot in a jungle, so that's going to be better.
You'll be scrambled, but let's wait for 30 years for that to show up.
Absolutely. Baseball always had the advantage of they give you money. So if you're some 18-year-old kid in the city or a farm boy or some shit like that, and they come to you and go, I'll give you a $10,000 signing bonus, you go, holy shit, boy, and you sign right up. But if you're going to spend that money in Vietnam on hookers on your R&R rather than, in this doing what you want. And,
in 4 years, do whatever you want,
Yeah, so that was the thing. So, and then they would offer the guys all sorts of stuff, too. You come here, we'll give you a few bucks, we'll give you a wardrobe, an apartment, and all that shit.
We'll give you food, water, and shelter.
Yeah, and no one will shoot at you. Not on purpose, anyway. I mean, maybe at Texas, because that guy shot from the bell. You never know, but still.
Also, depends on how racist you get in Toledo.
Yeah, you never know. So he actually, there was an issue on the team where the coach suspended a black player, and Brisker got mad. And he said Nichols, meaning who's the coach, Nichols was from Toledo. When the black and white thing got into the papers, I was the villain because he came out and said
because he said it.
He was mad. He said he had the bright idea the black players were a separate group. That was the split. And I fought him over that because we'd always been together as a team. But it got to the point where my hair was falling out and I developed an ulcer.
Oh, my, it's causing him so much anguish and anxiety.
He was put on the bench, and there was racial stuff, and because he was put on the bench because he was talking in the papers, and so he said he was just totally fucked up in the head. Hair's falling out. He averages, let's see, his freshman year, 14 points a game. His sophomore year, 14.9 points a game, and we're talking shitloads of rebounds too. 9.5 rebounds in his freshman year.
So good.
6.8 in his sophomore year. So he's doing very well. Then he doesn't play very much in his junior year. Only plays in 6 games because that's all this shit's going on here. So he's doing everything like that, playing his stuff. He's starting to get moody, starting to party a little bit more.
Yeah.
And he said most of it, a lot of it was the racial stuff got him very mad. Rudy Tomjanovich said he got a little frustrated at that time.
Yeah.
And you could tell. He said, this is Brisker's quote, his full quote here, in the summer of '68, just before my senior year, I was informed by the coach that I would have to do everything he wanted or I wouldn't play ball for him again. I couldn't do that, so I told him I didn't need him. Even if I couldn't play basketball for him, I was talented enough to do something else. And but he led the football team in receptions that year as a receiver. So that's crazy. That's an athlete.
Imagine being so good,
so athletic that you can just
and then you wedge that giant frame into a tuba. Is the tuba the one that goes around you?
I don't know if it goes around you, if you hang it off the front of you.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like it would go around.
Crawl through, right?
I think that's the tuba. It's huge. The tuba.
Yeah,
it's like a brass cello. It's a gigantic fucking.
But what's that giant one that you got to slide into?
That's got to be a tuba, I think, right? But I see they probably come in different sizes, tubas too.
Lizzo plays it.
I would assume. I don't think she plays the flute.
Oh,
she might play the tuba too. I don't fucking know.
The tuba's the little one that you kind of cradle.
Yeah,
what's that giant fucker that you got to wedge into?
I have no idea. That looks like a steam pipe for an old building.
Yeah,
one of those.
Like comes out over your head. Yeah. It's a stupid instrument, is what it is.
It's like some sort of weird exhaust system. Yeah, you're playing. I
play the Harley pipe. That's what I play.
That's
I
fucking
play
ridiculous.
the Harley exhaust.
Yeah, I play custom pipes. So
giant wind horn. That's what I'm going to look up. Instrument, and then you keep telling me more, and
I'll wait till you
get to the bottom of this.
I don't think the instrument matters, to be honest with you. And even if you bring it up, 45 people will tweet us about it anyway. So why bother? Why waste the time on the show? Someone will tell us later.
Great point. It's an alpha horn. I don't know.
Yeah. Everyone will tell us anyway. So He still wanted to play basketball, though, Brisker.
Okay.
He said, every day for 2 weeks after football practice at 3 p.m., I would go to practice with the freshman basketball team at 7 p.m. Doing both was a hell of a strain on my body, but that's how badly I wanted to play. Yeah, coming from college football practice to go do basketball practice is insane. You can't do both of those in the same day.
That feels very tiring.
Holy shit. So he said he's on the bench and everything like that, and that's when he said he developed an ulcer, started losing his hair. He said, and he has hair, so it's not like he goes bald after that. He ends up growing it back. He said
it's like a pregnant woman, though.
Yeah, it's just got too many hormones or something.
Yeah.
Too many vitamins coming in. He said at the same time, other things started to go badly. My grade average took a dive. I decided to quit the team, and it became a big controversy. It was played up as my not being able to make it academically when it was actually the coach and me not making it in any way. I didn't feel that staying at Toledo would be worthwhile. The only thing I could have accomplished was to hurt somebody and ruin myself. Jesus. While I still had my pride and self-respect, which they couldn't strip me of, I left.
Yeah, you can't take my pride.
Yeah, he did that. So he got a job. He worked a bunch after that. He's working, I assume he's doing janitorial work or some sort of of the like. And then he ends up in the Philadelphia's Baker League in the summer. This was a big deal back then. This was a summer league that pro guys would come play in this league. Like it was
basketball?
Yes, a basketball league that was played outdoor. I believe it was outdoor. Some of the games were outdoor, but it was like a hardcore summer basketball league back then. And like I said, pros would come to stay in shape because that's where the good games were. Young guys, this is where you get seen. Scouts came here. It was a big deal. And John played in this league and does a great job and really gets a lot of attention. Yeah. Well, the other thing is you get a lot of pro players coming and seeing you. Next thing you know, they go back to their teams and they're like, hey, there's this kid that plays here and there. This motherfucker's bad. I saw him doing this and that. And then, you get drafted. And that's what happens. In 1969, he's not in the regular NBA draft. He gets drafted in the first round by Philadelphia in the supplemental draft. Now, NBA draft, though, first round, number one pick, 1969, Jimmie. He might actually get it.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes. So I said you might actually get it because you guess him a lot.
In 69 he was drafted?
69. Drafted out of UCLA to Milwaukee. And we told the story about him in the ABA in the bonus episode, by the way.
It was Lou then, right?
Yeah, it was Lou Alcindor at the moment, but he almost ended up in the ABA, but they fucked it up. Full stories on Patreon. So he's also, John Brisker is also drafted by the Pittsburgh Pipers at the time, who were that is a ABA basketball team. Baseball. What fucking baseball team is that?
I don't know. I was looking for a curveball in the story. I don't know. He plays football and basketball. Is it really a stretch?
Who knows? He signs with the Pittsburgh Pipers, a hockey team. Like, what?
The first professional cornhole team.
We didn't even know he could skate, but apparently he never skated before, but he's so good and athletic, he just put skates on and muscled them into the ice. And he doesn't so much glide on the ice as he makes himself a trail. He really just makes himself a divot the whole way through. So the Pipers also draft him, and he ends up signing with the ABA because the NBA didn't offer him shit for money. So ABA offered a few more bucks, but not much. So he ends up in the ABA. He's got to kind of prove himself. Now, the Pipers were the defending champions when he got drafted. So
that's great.
That's great. But their team completely fell apart at this point because they won the title but didn't make any money. So they started selling off their players and shit. Okay. So that's the kind of team they were. They go 29-55 in his rookie year there.
That's not good.
No, couple different coaches. It's kind of a mess. John, though, 21 points a game. 21 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists out of the small forward spot, and sometimes power forward.
Pick.
Sometimes power forward at 6'5", too. Really? He plays too. Yeah, I mean he plays 28.2 minutes a game. He's in it, man. He's in it.
You get that out of a rookie. That's a fucking tremendous deal.
Yeah, and back then too, you would get that out of rookies. Guys would be the MVP as a rookie in the ABA. Right? Yeah, they'd get these dominant, especially a center could come in and dominate because there was not a lot of good centers. The NBA, when they started competing salary-wise with the ABA, the first and foremost thing they did was lock down centers because back then the game was all post. So if they took the centers, that was it. The NBA was screwed. Which in the end, it opened up the game. But
you're playing against a team with a good center, and your center is garbage. Now you've got a shooting guard as your double team, and that's a mismatch all day.
He can just dominate on you. Well, then you get guys wide open. If you have a center who knows how to kick it out, you got a lot of problems when it comes to that. So fighting becomes his main reputation, though.
Okay.
And mind you, 21 points, 5.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists per game is outstanding as a rookie in any league here. But fighting...
Did the ABA award points for fighting? Did you get, like...
No, but if he did, he'd average 43 a game, 43 points a game. He would have been killing it, way above anybody else.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them, or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. I'm going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
He knocked out a guy named Sam Smith in Kentucky, who played for the Kentucky Colonels, who was a big, giant guy, and he just fucking knocked him out cold on the court. That was his original reputation in the ABA was made from that because he was a much bigger guy, and John just knocked the fuck out of him.
Actual knockout.
Oh, yeah. They said the guy looked just like Joe Louis, too, his face. So it was funny. He looked like a giant Joe Louis, the boxer. They said Smith, the big guy, swung twice, and then Brisker swung once and knocked him the fuck out. So
countered with one punch.
Yep. He's obviously out of the game. And they said after that, everybody said, "Oh, don't fuck with John Brisker. That's a bad dude."
Yeah, took two, gave one, and he's still standing.
No shit. One of his coaches said Brisker had 3 talents: shooting, rebounding, and fighting. He said no one ever knew which order they'd appear from day to day was the problem. You never knew with John. And then Spencer Haywood said, John was LeBron James with anger issues. That's telling. That's some serious shit I know. But that's who he was. That's the kind of something, they don't tell you it says expletive. That's the kind of expletive you were looking at. I assume motherfucker would be the...
Probably, yeah.
Detroit... that's the kind of motherfucker you were looking at. Sounds right. If you've ever heard Spencer Haywood, that's what he would have said.
Well, Andrew, not Andrew, Jesus, Samuel.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, not Andrew Jackson at all. Very different people. But I would pay to hear...
I'll bet they both don't like each other.
I would pay to hear Samuel Jackson dress down Andrew Jackson. That would be hilarious. That would be the funniest fucking thing in the world. We'd have to obviously dig him up. He's been dead for several hundred years. Almost 200 years. But still, I feel like I would enjoy that. Put like a hat on him in a military uniform.
I'd love to if we could reanimate. I want to see his face as it happens.
Yeah, he would absolutely hate it. I know that much. He would certainly hate it. So, and we talked a little bit about a couple of these guys in the, or at least Warren Jabali in the ABA bonus episode. But the two toughest guys were Warren Jabali and John Brisker in the whole ABA. That was how it was. Brisker was killing it. We'll tell you more of his stats, but he does very well. Brisker. Everybody, it's weird. People like him, but then they're scared of him, so they're hard to get. They don't want to get close to him.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing. A guy named Billy Knight says, going to college at the University of Pittsburgh and playing on the team, I got to see a lot of ABA teams and got to know guys like Connie Hawkins and John Brisker. Connie Hawkins is amazing. He's a legend, as you know, being a Suns fan.
Yeah, and as a career being robbed from him, all of everything.
Oh yeah.
What a nice person.
Well, yeah, the ABA saved him. The ABA was he went to the ABA and was just the dominant player in the ABA, and that's when the NBA and the whole thing went through the court, and he ended up going. He really did well. He went to the NBA, got a huge contract, and got a big settlement also for them keeping him out for all those years. Because
he would come to our school so much.
Really,
schools in
he's
Arizona.
A legend, man.
He would come.
He's amazing.
Every year it felt like he was there to give a speech about staying in school. And what a guy.
That's a fucking – he was an amazing player, like incredible player. People just the way they talk about him when he was younger, he was like, just beyond amazing, especially for a big guy like that. So he said those guys used to work out with us at the Pitt Field House. The first time I played a game against Brisker, he just turned toward me and busted me in the mouth. Some college kid he's just playing a pickup game with. He said, I mean, for no reason. He just punched me in the mouth and stood there waiting for me to do something about it. I didn't do anything. He just scared me.
You think there was no reason?
Yeah.
What was the result? I'm sure that was the reason.
Yeah, afterwards, I bet you played him a little softer. You weren't quite boxing him out so hard. Get that elbow.
He scored pretty well that day, huh?
Yep. Matt Calvin, who's a really good guard, a really good ABA guard. He was great. I think he played in the NBA before and then went to the ABA. He said, John Brisker scared everybody. Even the guys on his own team were frightened of the guy. He had a perpetual chip on his shoulder, but I was a guard, so he didn't pay much attention to me. He liked to pick on the big guys.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy he is, too. Brisker will go, who's the toughest guy on that team? Oh, good, I'm going to punch him today. Like every
prison mentality.
Say every game was day one of prison for this guy. Like, got to make my reputation.
Prison orientation.
Yep.
At game day.
Every fucking game. Every game. Charlie Williams, another guy here from the ABA, he said there was a real contradiction to Brisker. He was an exceptionally talented player with a good long-range jump shot, almost downtown Freddie Brown-like range. He was a great player, too, downtown Freddie Brown. He was vicious under the basket and got more rebounds than a 6'5" guy should. He had good all-around basketball skills and really was an excellent player. But his personality was something else. Say something wrong to the guy, or at least that he thought was wrong, and you had this feeling that John would reach into his bag, take out a gun, and shoot you. Jesus Christ. In training camp, if John sensed there was a guy who might take his job, the rookie was in trouble. John would physically take that player apart. The guys on the other teams were just scared of him, and the guys on John's team were very leery of him. He's
his teammates.
He's just a wild card. Oh, he'll knock you out. Being a teammate means nothing in terms of whether you'll get punched or not. Piss him off, he's punching you.
I want you to win, but me too.
Yeah.
I'm going to win on this team at the same time as we win.
He said, quote, being a fighter is a part of my game, but it ruins any evaluation of me as a player. I come on the floor, everyone expects a fight. That's not right. I just protect what I am, and I don't back off.
Okay.
Yeah, but not everybody's fighting every game. That's the difference. You have to, there's...
Do you think that's from just from childhood? Like because he had to scrap and fight to survive?
I guess.
He does that as an adult too?
He
doesn't realize he doesn't have to anymore?
I don't know if it's that or, it's also a matter of like if you're growing up with a lot of other kids around and your mom's like something's wrong with her and shit, the other kids might say something and then you got to fucking beat them up. So, you might feel like he's always defending a lot. I'm not sure. And he's just angry.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
angry.
definitely angry. He's mad.
Dick Tinkham, who's an executive in the league there in the ABA, Dick Tinkham. Yeah, we talked about him a lot in the ABA episode. That's a bad name. So many guys, unfortunate dick names back then. So many. Jesus. He says, quote, the legendary Brisker story was that in one of its training camps, Pittsburgh brought in an ex-football player who was supposed to control Brisker. The football player was supposed to get into a scrimmage with Brisker, and the first time Brisker stepped out of line, the football player was supposed to flatten him. There, we're going to keep him under control. Well, the two guys started going at it. Then the football player said, the hell with you, I'm going to get my gun.
You can't do this with me.
And Brisker said, quote, if you're getting a gun, then I'm going to go get my gun.
I go one too.
Now we're going to have a shootout on the court. Then the two guys ran off the court in different directions, presumably to get their guns. The coaches took one look at all that and called off practice before somebody got killed.
Overlock the doors.
That's the ABA, though. That's fucking amazing. John Vanek, who is an official, he said, one time I was officiating a Pittsburgh game, and Brisker was late coming onto the floor for the second half. Turned out that he had a fight in the dressing room with one of his own players. It's just constant. Steve Jones here, another guy, he says, quote, Wendell would fight anyone. Oh, this is about this is about Wendell Ladner, who's a big hillbilly, total redneck guy who could barely talk and did a commercial and couldn't say tortilla.
I like him already.
We talked about him, yeah. He said, they said Wendell would fight anyone. In his second pro game, we played Denver, and Wendell got into it with Wayne Hightower, and right away Hightower backed off. He just didn't want any part of Wendell. The next day we went to Pittsburgh, back when the Condors had John Brisker, who was the meanest guy in the league. Before the game, Brisker said to me, I hear you've got this tough white kid on your team. And that's how good the ABA grapevine was. Wendell was in the league for only 2 games, and already word was out on him. I told Brisker, Ladner can fight. I wouldn't mess with him. And Brisker said, we'll find out tonight. Someone else is tough. I'm going to fight him. Don't worry.
I can't wait to see it.
That's fucking crazy. So he said, Pittsburgh had a bad team and a very selfish team. Brisker was out there shooting the ball every time he got it, trying to get his 30. Once Brisker got his 30 points, he decided it was time to go after Wendell. John threw an elbow at Ladner, who didn't pay any attention to it and just ran down to the other end of the court. The next time down the court, Brisker threw another elbow, and Ladner went crazy. It became more like 2 bulls trying to gore each other than a basketball fight. Those were just 2 big, strong, rough guys. In their next game, they got into a fight at the jump ball to start the game.
Wow.
But eventually they learned that neither guy could beat the other. They just scrapped to a draw every time.
Oh, my God.
So another Rudy Martzke said Wendell was crazy. He'd stick his head into Brisker's dressing room and yell, hey, John, we going to go at it now or after the game? And then they'd laugh, go into their dressing room, and then fight on the court. So it was just like,
you want to do it now or we want to give him a show?
It wasn't hard feelings at all. It was just like,
that's what we do.
We fight. Yep. Jack McMahon, who was a coach for the Condors when they turned from the Pipers to the Condors, he said, quote, nobody would get in his way about Brisker. If he got fouled, he'd get up and punch the guy who fouled him.
Wow.
Imagine that in the game. Imagine LeBron James gets fouled, gets up, drills James Harden right in the fucking forehead. Just pow, knocks him down. That'd be wild. And keep going every time.
The difference between that league and this league is that they're playing to actively draw fouls now. Where they were playing to actually score buckets. Now it's all bullshit strategy of winning at the foul line. It's fucking asinine. So now it'd be like, that'd be instigating now.
Yeah.
Watching Chris Paul stand up and punch somebody.
The ABA, that was a rougher game. Chris. They said you'd have to really knock somebody down to get a foul. You weren't tapping somebody's wrist
Smacking
to get a foul on that. That doesn't happen. They weren't doing that. He said that, quote, Brisker, one moment he said, am I thrown out? He punched a guy, then asked the ref, am I thrown out?
Do I go home now?
The ref said, I told him, yeah. And he said, well, I'll get my money's worth.
And he went back?
Oh, yeah. Then he watched him. Brisker made his way around the floor like he was heading to the locker room, and just when the guy that he got in a fight with stepped up to the line to take his technical foul shot, so he was at the line with nobody else around. Right. So when you're all alone at the foul line,
isolated.
Just when that, Brisker bolted onto the floor and punched him in the back of the head.
Back of the head.
Got my money's worth is what he did there. And his teammates said he was a really nice person. Do anything for kids.
That's all it takes, man.
That's what it is. He's nice to the kids.
You can be a piece of shit. As long as you go to the burn unit and hand out teddy bears, you're an angel.
It. Go over there, sign a couple basketballs, take a couple of pictures, and you're a great guy. It doesn't matter what the fuck you do. Holy shit. So 70-71 season, he averages 39.1 minutes a game. So a lot. 29.3 points a game.
Almost a point a minute.
9.7 rebounds. So he's averaging essentially 30 and 10.
Why don't we know who he is?
With 3 assists a game as well.
It's ridiculous.
Those are silly numbers. Those are peak LeBron numbers. Those are really good numbers. Not bad. Sure. So he one game in Salt Lake City in the Utah Stars, they held a John Brisker intimidation night. They called it an official night, where 6 of the state's professional fighters, including ex-middleweight champion Gene Fulmer and his brother Don, sat at courtside.
Actual boxers.
They brought in boxers to do that. Brisker, didn't give a shit, obviously, here, but they said they thought it was fun, and there was
very funny.
So, his coach said, Jack McMahon, John intimidates people. He goes to the basket like no one I've ever seen. Guys run away. It's like a parting of the seas. In 20 years, I've never seen that before. Mm-hmm. Most guys go to the rack trying to get fouled. He goes to the rack. If you foul him, he's punching you. So you get the fuck out of the way when he goes to the rack, essentially. That's how that works. One game in New York against the Nets, he had a huge, huge day there. He loved playing in New York. Thought it was the greatest thing in the world. They played a doubleheader one day at Madison Square Garden. Oh. Not the same teams, but 4 different teams played a doubleheader. It was a big deal for the ABA trying to, get out to a bigger market. That's when they had the Miami. Remember we talked about the Miami Floridians ball girls? Right. They made a big deal, and the press came. And so they said for 3 quarters, Brisker wasn't that great. He was shooting a lot, not doing so much. But then in the 4th quarter, he just went off. Turned it on. He made 9 straight shots, including 2 3-pointers in there.
Wow.
He was 6 for 24 coming into the 4th quarter. Yeah. Then made 9 straight, including 2 threes. The last 3-pointer tied the game at 109 at the end of regulation.
Going to overtime.
Yep. So they went to the guy, on the 3-pointer, it was blocked, is the weird part. Tom Washington, the guy who blocked it, said, I couldn't understand it. He recontrolled the ball after I blocked it and shot it a second time, and it was a swish, and that was that.
In the air.
With 3 seconds left, yeah.
Wow.
He caught it and fucking shot it again, somehow reset himself and shot it again, which is pretty goddamn wild. So he loved the Garden. He said, New York fans are a lot different than Pittsburgh fans. You know why the Knicks are so good? Because at the time they were good, everybody. I know they haven't been for decades, but they were really good in the early 70s. They are inspired by the fans. It makes you feel good to play before real fans. Even though they are from New York, they recognize good players. I don't know what that means. I guess on other teams.
Despite those asshole New Yorkers.
I mean, even though they obviously don't see very much, I think they're all right. He said, after we were on 5 in a row, we were expecting 2,000 or 3,000 fans to come out, but we barely had 1,000. It becomes disappointing to play just before the concessionaires in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so he goes, here, it's fun. And 1971-72, he plays 42.1 minutes a game that year. Oh. Jesus. 28.9 points, 9.1 rebounds, 4.1 assists.
He's incredible.
That's really good. Really good. He's a lot different than he was before. Rudy Tomjanovich, who's been playing in the NBA, comes to visit him in Pittsburgh in 1971. And he said he was totally different. He said, quote, he was wearing a dashiki and talking about going to Africa. He said he got into like the whole Black Power movement.
Yeah.
And like not so much the Panther thing, but like the kind of Africa movement. Yeah, he got into that sort of thing. So October 13th, 1971, This is during the World Series, by the way. There's a World Series game going on here in Pittsburgh. So this is fucking wild. He gets arrested when he refused to get out of a taxi.
It stopped.
It's a World Series game, and the taxi was reserved.
Oh.
A bunch of the taxis, there was an area for reserved taxis that were there, for players, for media, for whatever the fuck. He just hopped in one of them and was like, take me here. And the guy said, can't, it's reserved, sorry. And he said, well, I'm not getting out. You're taking me there. And cops end up coming, and there ends up being a large brawl between him, the taxi cab driver, and several cops.
What do you get charged with there? Loitering?
Well, he faced an arraignment on charges of assault and battery, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest.
Yeah, those are them.
Those are the ones that you get for that.
After the fact.
Yeah.
We'll drop loitering and hit you with these.
Take those instead. And 2 of the cops end up in the hospital for a couple of days after this. He didn't make the team bus trip back to Wheeling, West Virginia, where they were playing the Dallas Chaparrals that night. Jesus Christ. At an exhibition game. The coach said, we sent him home and told him to get some sleep because he was bruised. His ankle was banged up and he was obviously beaten. That's what a team spokesman said. According to the Condors here, Brisker attended the World Series game where the Pirates beat the Orioles 5-1 with a woman friend of his. I believe this is his future wife. He'll get married to her next year. Michelle is her name. This is from the newspaper. He and the unidentified white woman left the game early. That didn't need to be said, probably.
The woman is fine.
So that Brisker could catch the team bus in plenty of time. So they left the game, wanted to go get the bus. He waited 30 minutes for a taxi, then climbed into the first one that pulled up by the press gate. John said, this is from the team, John said the driver refused to accept him as a passenger. The driver claimed the cab was reserved and told John he had to get out. Brisker claimed the driver had no right to refuse transport to an orderly passenger to their destination because the taxi drivers technically have to take people. So the driver called the police, and several policemen forcibly ejected John from the cab. He said they hit him and called him a black bastard.
Okay. Now he thinks, as they say that, he's doing this because I'm black, because they're certainly doing this.
Yes.
It feels like it. Is it? Cops, that should be a hate crime, right?
And it might. And
even though you got a badge.
And cab drivers back then, too, are pretty notorious for picking and choosing.
Black people.
Yes. I mean, they might have been looking for some dorky press guy at the press gate, but at the same time, it might have been somebody called the cab also for them, and they were going to come outside. Now he took it. So we don't know what happened. We have no idea. So the police, here's the 2 versions now we'll give you. That's the team version. Okay. The police said that, and then we'll give you Brisker's exact version. The police said that Brisker and a woman companion were arrested outside the stadium and taken to headquarters. The woman companion was not charged. They said Patrolman Howard Trojanowski and Rudolph Sablow. I told you, we got one Polak, every one of these Midwestern cities. We need a Polak and a Guinea. Where are they? Come on, what do you got? Hey, Rudy, you come here. We're putting you with Trojanowski. Come on. Yeah, you 2 are together now. Get in the car, the 2 of you.
You got a problem with it? Take it up with the local. It's not my problem.
I'm sorry. That's city ordinance. I don't know what to tell you. It's 1 Polak and 1 Guinea. That's what they told us, and that's what we're doing now. I don't know. Get out there. So
said it's for the image. I don't get it.
I don't understand it personally, but you know what? We're going to go with it. Okay. It's every Midwestern city. That's how they all are. So Trojanowski was reported in good condition in the intensive care unit afterwards. Jesus
Those words
Christ.
Don't go together.
After suffering not only beatings, but an attack of chest pains, too. He put him into a heart attack here. Oh, Jesus. So a stadium guard at the time said, quote, "It was the greatest fight I ever saw."
I was here for Ali. I was here for George Foreman.
I've seen it all, man.
The best fight ever. They didn't fight 2 people, so this was better.
I saw Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis. It was nothing compared to this, boy. This was a brawl. This was 2 cops and 1 giant fucking basketball player duking it out.
He scared the cops
awesome.
so bad the man had heart palpitations.
Yeah, he was in intensive care, for Christ's sake. So they're talking about him. He's going to face charges for this. They actually decide to press charges on him. There was a delay of a month because the legal proceedings came to a halt after, this is amazing, necessary papers were never forwarded to the district attorney's office from the magistrate's court.
The actual formal filing was never forwarded.
Never. So I don't know if that guy was just a fan. It was like, we'll keep his thing back here.
That guy's awesome.
The papers were nowhere to be found, but then they showed up yesterday morning, and officials promised quick action. So they just popped up. Somebody hid them, I think. Someone put them under something. Oh, there they are. So they said that's how they're going about it. Well, he said, quote, "If I knew how it was all going to work out." This is after the fight and everything. This is funny. If I knew now how it was all going to work out, I'd have jumped and asked them to drive the wagon downtown. But he said, if I knew how this whole thing would have went, I would have skipped the fucking cab and just jumped in the police wagon and said, take me to the station, and none of us have to deal with all this shit. It would have been easier.
Take me to the station, or that guy's going to the hospital.
Yeah, or three people are going to the hospital. He said, but I want it clear that I didn't hit anyone. If I had, there wouldn't be any doubts that I had. I just tried to tell them that I wasn't a criminal and to talk things over. They wouldn't listen. When they tried to handcuff me, I just tried to shake them off, which was apparently throwing them around like a wrestler with two managers or something. Yeah. To the point where a stadium security guard said it was the greatest fight I ever saw.
Just shaking them.
And he didn't even throw a punch, according to him. So that's pretty funny. At the 71 All-Star game, this is Van Vance here. He says, Brisker intimidated the whole league, meaning the ABA. It was at the 1971 All-Star game, and after it was over, I saw Brisker wandering through the stands. I said, John, who are you looking for? He said, Jack Dolph, who was the commissioner. I said, why do you want the commissioner? He said, I want my All-Star money right now.
I want to shake him off.
I'm going to shake that money out of his hand. He was still in his basketball shorts, wandering through the stands. The game was that close to just ended, and he's like, I want my money for playing in it. So he said, I want my All-Star money right now. Dolph came by just then, and Brisker said, I want my $300. Dolph started to say something, and Brisker repeated, I played in the game. I get $300 for being in the game. I want my $300. Brisker had that look about him, so Dolph just took out his wallet, peeled off 3 $100 bills, and handed them over to Brisker. Never mind.
There's paper. Okay, here you go.
He was about to tell him, like, well, you'll get it on your next check. And I played, excuse me.
Stop talking.
Pardonnez-moi.
No more words.
No.
Money.
No. It's going to be punching or money. Those are the two things that could happen here. So
that's so funny.
It's fucking great. With the commissioner of the league, this isn't even like
right to his face.
Right to his face. Imagine
No. No more talking.
Imagine Rasheed Wallace walking up to David Stern in the stands after an All-Star game in 1997 and be like, I want my All-Star money now. And Stern being like, it's on your check. Fuck that shit. Stern starts peeling money off. Wow. That year he had back-to-back scoring nights of 53 and 50 points in 2 different games.
Awesome.
So he's a great player. The Condors general manager said, I thought he was a hell of a competitor and the best player we ever had. Or I ever had. Connie Hawkins would be the best they ever had. He said, I thought he was a star player. He played great. I never had a problem with him. He played hard for me. Makes sense.
That's what he told me to say.
Yeah, otherwise he's going to hit me. I'm pretty sure. But he knows where I live. So I invited him to dinner one night. Pretty terrified of him. They were saying how at the time basketball really didn't have the structure to help guys out who had any kind of problem. If a guy, I mean, not that, I don't know if he had a problem or not, but let's say he went to a team and he said, I think I have an anger problem. I'd like to go to a therapist for a while. Back then they'd go, oh, John's crazy. And they'd make plans to get rid of him when his contract was up. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now they'd be like, oh, all right, yeah, go to a therapist. Here's a guy.
Yeah, take a leave.
Yeah, the team has 5 of them. Pick one, whichever one you want. So it's a different type of thing. One guy said, John was the kind of guy who, if you talk about that kind of thing, let's have a round table talking it out. Shoot, we might have to fight John ourselves. That's Spencer Haywood. So he's like, the team didn't want to talk to him about it because then we got to fight him. Like someone else, he needed to have it himself, or his mom needed to yell at him or some shit because it wasn't working. Another player said, I had a taste of fear with him, but I respected him because he always took time with me. It's a teammate of his. One of the coaches, Tom Nasalki, said, I think John had a lot of mean bones, like in his body.
Yeah.
He said one of his players would warn him around him that John's in his Dracula bag. In other words, he's acting like a vampire. He's angry. Now, he did get knocked out good in one game, which is pretty funny. Tom Nasalki says this, quote, when I was coaching Dallas, we were on a 9-game losing streak and we went into Pittsburgh. Before the game, I got a telegram from our owner, Bob Folsom, and while I was opening it, I was afraid that I was getting the ziggy, meaning he's getting fired. He said, instead, the telegram said, just want you to know that we're behind you and we think you'll get things turned around, which means we thought about firing you and we decided not to, so get your shit together.
Yeah.
That's what that means in sports. Otherwise, you don't need a vote of confidence if you're just doing fine. I know I'm doing fine. What do you mean? He said, so I had a great feeling going into the game because he's a moron and doesn't know manager speak, obviously. He said the Dallas GM was Bob Briner, and he used to let me keep a checkbook. So if a guy played a great game, I could give him a couple $100 as a bonus right on the spot.
Oh,
that's cool. So with all that going on, I wanted to do something dramatic to end our losing streak. Brisker had just been kicking our ass all year. I mean, beating the hell out of us. So I told the team, the first guy in this room who decks Brisker will get $500.
A bounty gate.
A bounty, yeah.
The Saints were fucking penalized for this.
Christ, this has been going on forever and ever and ever. Lenny Chappelle said, how about starting me? I'll do it. He didn't give a fuck. He wanted $500. The guy said, I normally didn't start Lenny, but if he wanted to go out there and get a piece of Brisker, that was fine with me. I figured that Brisker would go up for a layup or a rebound and Lenny would nail him. But just as the ball went up for the opening jump and everybody was looking up at the ball, Lenny Chappelle just flattened Brisker. He punched him out during the jump ball. Brisker was looking at the ball. He was looking up. He didn't even know it was coming. The guy just came and fucking sucker punched him. He said, if you think about it, that's the best time to get a guy. No one expects it. Everybody's looking up, including the officials. Nobody even saw Brisker get hit. He was just out flat on the floor, and guys were running over him. Nobody even saw what happened to call a foul. He didn't even get in trouble for it because they didn't see it because there was only 2 refs.
That's awesome.
He said, after the game, I gave Chappelle his $500 and we won the game. From that point on, there was a $500 bounty on Brisker's head. If he ever started up talking or shoving somebody, the first player on my team to deck him would get $500. So it's the kind of guy we're dealing with here.
It's pretty awesome.
Fuck.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
Sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
with a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
June 1972, he is cleared of all criminal charges in his taxi incident.
Is that right?
Yep. The judge ruled that he was innocent after hearing the case without a jury. It was just a little bench trial. The taxi driver, Alfred E. Sabo, testified he went to the stadium to pick up a fare who had ordered a cab, and while stopped in the traffic near Gate A, Brisker entered his cab and refused to leave when he told him it was reserved. So he said the patrolmen who were called testified they arrested Brisker after he ignored their orders to leave the cab. He finally left the cab, refused to enter a police van. Brisker said when the officers tried to force him into the van, he braced himself against the door frame to prevent injury on the van steps. He said he did not intend to resist arrest.
Oh.
And they found him innocent.
Fascinating.
I don't think they brought in the security guy who said, that is the greatest fight I ever saw in my life. It's from what he described. He tried to brace himself, and a cop slipped and fell, and then that's not what was described.
Had a heart attack.
Yeah, I didn't hear shaking him a little bit either after that, so that's pretty funny.
I didn't think about shaking him off at all.
Not at all. 72-73, the NBA is looking to really pick the carcass of the ABA. So if they can pluck players out, they're going to do it. And they pick John Brisker out, the NBA, and the Seattle Supersonics sign him to a 6-year, $1 million contract.
Oh, my.
In 72, which was enormous money.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Killing it. So
$175 a year or something like that?
It's killing it. Yeah. Fucking crushing it after that. $180 a year, some shit. So $175. He is 72-73 Seattle here. They suck also, by the way. That's why they're looking for guys from the ABA. They are 26-56 that year.
Yikes.
Shitty, in other words. And one of their coaches' names is Bucky Buckwalter.
Why would you do that?
Come on, man. Don't call yourself Bucky. That's not your first name.
No. It better not be.
Now, then the coach halfway through the season is Tom Nasalki, the guy who had the $500 bounty on Brisker's head. Now he's Brisker's coach.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And Nasalki said, I ended up coaching Brisker in the Seattle of the NBA. He asked if there was really a bounty on him. He had heard about it. He laughed. I think he felt honored. I would, yeah.
Yeah.
By the time I got to Seattle, Brisker had really started to slip. We were playing in Portland, and Brisker had missed the morning practice. I always had a rule that if you didn't make the morning shoot-around, you didn't play that night. We played that night, and it was a close game. I didn't use Brisker, and with 3 seconds left in the game, we were down by 2 points. I was drawing up a pick for someone to take a shot when Brisker said, Tom, I'll hit that shot for you.
Oh.
I looked at him. I thought maybe I'd show him up or whatever, but if he wanted to take the last shot of the game after having sat there all night, I'd let him.
How about that?
So if he wants to take the shot totally cold and with the least chance of making it of anybody on our team, I figure I'll let him fuck the game up. What a weird coaching move. But I guess...
you know what? This is a good idea.
I guess at that point you'd have an upper hand on a player, though, if they're acting...
Yeah, and also the...
big for themselves.
In strategy, the other team, that's the last person they think is going to take the shot.
Yeah. They probably think they're putting him in as like a block or a pick guy, guy to set a pick. He'd be the perfect guy to set one. He said, I let him. I put Brisker in, and sure enough, he cranked it. He had that kind of ability and that kind of self-confidence. But at this point, Brisker had started to get into drugs, and it just messed up his whole career. One night he'd score 40 for me. The next night he had nothing. That isn't an exaggeration. But when he was in the ABA, he was a hell of a player. Wow. So, 72-73 with Seattle, 12.8 points a game, 4.6 rebounds. So basically production cut in half.
You think the money gave him the ability to do more drugs?
Yeah,
probably
absolutely.
Doing him in the ABA, right?
Yeah, but not to this extent. And he said, too, he got fat and happy. And and he said it was easier for him to be sullen and pissy because he had an easier, like something to nestle into afterwards.
Yeah, you can insulate yourself.
Yeah. So, he does that. 73-74, 12.5 points a game, 4.2 rebounds. So it's just not the same. He does do a lot of fighting, though.
Oh?
This is from Slick Watts' Tales from the Seattle Supersonics, a book. He said it was John Brisker. This is 73-74. It was Watts' rookie season. He said it was John Brisker and Joby Wright, a star player from Indiana University. Brisker was the top dog in practice, throwing his weight around. Joby was 6'9", 250 or so, a very big, strong guy. One day in practice, they got into a serious confrontation. Back in those days, the big superstar player controlled practice. We had 3 because they were all the $1 million guys. It was Brisker, I think Spencer Haywood was on this team, and one other guy. In practice, those 3 wanted it their way, which means don't foul me. Don't foul the stars. My big thing was to hack a guy's hand or arm in practice, but when I used to see them, I'd go the other way. Okay, so on this day, Brisker was throwing his weight around, and Joby wouldn't get back. Nobody would get involved because he was so strong. When Brisker hit him, he caught him with a right hand, and you could hear his jaw break. Jesus Christ.
God.
Everything was dead still. You talk about afraid, everybody was afraid. Joby grabbed his jaw and said, "Man, you broke my jaw." He also had 4 of his teeth loosened. We had to call the ambulance. It was about 2 or 3 weeks in practice before anybody bumped Brisker again. Joby ended up getting his jaw wired, and then he was cut later that year. I think that fight ruined Joby's career.
I would say so.
Yeah, fucked them all up. Made him, sketchy.
Yeah.
Jumpy.
It make you think, for sure, every time.
Yeah, he said John Brisker could be so nice, but sometimes something snapped in him. I remember one day in practice I blocked his shot from behind, and he turned around and slapped me. And he liked me. That's what this guy said. He immediately apologized, but I said, no, I'm sorry.
That's my fault. Yeah,
I did block your shot. I didn't want to get into a scrap with John. John was the man. I was just happy that he did not break my jaw. So I did not argue. I did not shout. I just apologized and moved on out of the way. After practice, he took me to lunch and again apologized for the way he reacted. I reassured him and my jaw, John, it's no problem. Good.
It's okay.
You didn't fucking try to kill me. So he said, if there was one thing I learned from those 2 incidents with Brisker, I knew that I was safe because he was on my team. The second most memorable fight of my life was when we were playing in Phoenix against the great Pat Riley. That's Coach Pat Riley and all that. You all know who he is. Just about everybody on the floor started fighting. The 7'2" Tom Burleson took off across the floor like Batman and dove on the entire crowd. That was a fun fight. That sounds awesome. I want to see that. Riley wasn't as he is today with slick-backed hair and cool clothes. Back then he had long hair and a mustache. He came off the bench trying to be tough, and Burleson just dove over his head, knocked him into the crowd. Now when I see Pat on the sideline, I just smile and think back to that fight. What a difference. I was smart. I always got behind Brisker when a fight broke out.
Yeah, I would too.
Ever since Brisker showed me that he was the man by breaking Joby Wright's jaw, I got behind him, and I knew no one was coming to mess with Brisker. I'd just hide behind him until the fight was over. There'd be not a lot of traffic in this area here, probably. So I'm good over here. Smart.
The coward's way out, and I respect it.
That is hilarious. Yeah, he's like in an old Western movie. He's the guy like hiding behind the bar drinking a bottle, and another guy dives over, and he's like, "How you doing, pal?" And he gives him, "Want to sit?" He's like, "Sure." The cowards.
Under a table.
Under a table, yeah. It's like, oof, boy, that's crazy out there, huh? So he and Michelle have a daughter, Mijani, who was born February 11th, 1974. Mm-hmm. So now he's got a young daughter to think about. The next year, though, at 74-75, he only plays in 21 games, only 13.1 minutes a game, 7.7 points, 1.6 rebounds. It all falls apart. And that is because of the whole Joby Wright incident with the broken jaw. That was only 4 days into training camp. And essentially, Bill Russell's the coach, by the way. The legendary Bill Russell is Seattle's coach at that point. Yeah. And he did not like Brisker doing shit like this. So they said some teammates remember that Joby Wright threw a punch. Others said it was Brisker. But in the end, Brisker was the one that got in trouble for it. Watts says, quote, about Wright, "He hit the ground like a bag of potatoes. Brisker walked off. Ain't nobody say shit. The gym was like a funeral. Ambulance came. Russell told everyone to go home. His teeth fell out on the floor," Spencer Haywood said. "I was like, oh, shit." Russell said, "All right, we have to tone John down." It's an understatement.
Loosened, lost. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Haywood said that Russell had Jim Brown. Mm-hmm. He made Jim Brown come talk to him because Russell's a legend and Jim Brown's a legend, and I assume they have each other's phone numbers. Just,
Probably,
hello, legendary, amazing, fucking greatest player going, yeah, me too. Great, huh? Cool. High five. You want to do me a favor? So he said, this is fucking funny. He came over to hang out to talk to Brisker. And Spencer Haywood said, them two motherfuckers ended up being buddies and playing chess all the time. They were two of the same kind of characters. I know this shit sounds out there, but talk to the other players. They'll tell you the same thing.
Brown and Brisker became pals.
They became running mates rather than I'm going to tone this guy down. He was like, oh, this guy's pretty cool. Because Jim Brown's a lot of the same way.
Yeah.
Jim Brown didn't take shit from anybody. That was how he was. So that's probably why Russell brought him in.
And Jim Brown was into the whole African movement thing. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, oh, you know what? I like this. Yeah, I like you.
You wear a dashiki too. Ours match. Look at this.
Yeah, let's trade hats. So they Watts says that, quote, this was another block shot. He said, I blocked his shot one day, and his response was to knock the shit out of me. He said, slap me like a baby, and I took off. I didn't fuck with John. I had a red Doberman, and I used to call him Brisker when he got started and to get mad at the other dog. So the team, though, says after these few games, Bill Russell says he can't put up with him anymore, and they come to an agreement on a buyout of his contract.
Yeah, because even the corrections that I'm making to fix him, he's falling in love with it.
It's not good.
He's making friends with it.
So here's the deal. John leaves, and they give him 50 cents on the dollar for the remaining money in his contract.
A halvesy,
which still like $500,000. So he's like
up front, so it's pretty great.
Great, fuck it. They also hold him and send him. He's still property of the team, so they send him to the Eastern Basketball League, which is like a minor league deal to kind of humble him, I would suppose. And Brisker tells the Philadelphia Inquirer, quote, I got to grow up. I know that now. Attitude is very important to me. I'm going to turn my whole life around. I've been carrying a big chip, felt it was me against the world. I got a bad rep, and now I'm going to live it down. So he's going to do that. He gets sent down to the Hamilton Pat Pavers of the Eastern Basketball League.
What the fuck?
Yeah. He said, Russell said I had to go down and work on my defense.
That is a far cry from the Supersonics.
I would say that's not work on my defense. It's work on not punching teammates in the face, you know. Now, his brother, John's brother Ralph, said he was upset with the whole scene in Seattle. He was dealing with a different type of people. He became more cynical and distant. They ended up trading him. The Eastern Leagues ended up trading him, but still Seattle owned him. And to the Cherry Hill Rookies.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's what he ended up with. They said that he came in, he did it. They said the first night in practice, he was working harder than anybody else. You know, there was that. He said one difference, though, he said the floor was all fucked up here. It wasn't a good NBA floor. John said there was a hole in the floor. I stepped in it, felt this shooting pain in my lower back.
Yeah.
Can't do that, yeah.
The floor should be, the court should be intact, right? If we're going to play on this?
At least intact. At least the court be intact. That's minimum.
What are we doing here? Like, that's not.
Yeah, even in a shitty playground court, there's no holes in it usually. Right. There might be a crack over there, watch out for, but actual holes? That seems like a bit much.
To cause nerve damage, for Christ's sake?
He started having back spasms and shit from that. He had to ride. The general manager drove him to Allentown the next night and said he had to stop periodically so John can get out and stretch because he was so fucked up. So he gets into the game, misses his first 3 shots, then hits 15 of 37 from the field and sets a league record with 51 points and 11 rebounds and 5 assists.
Okay.
So he seems to be okay. Not bad. He said that the general manager said there were people standing and yelling at the end. He came out and they announced he had 43 points. This is when they took him out. They took him out so he could get an ovation because, take him out early. but the crowd started yelling for 50. They wanted the coach to put him back in to get 50.
Oh, shit.
So Hal put him back in, and he got 8.5. He got 8 in a minute and a half. It was incredible. He got his 51. Brisker said, "It's funny. They send me down to concentrate on being a defensive guard, but Greer needed a scoring forward. Same old thing, you know, 2 different things pulling and tugging at me. Well, I'll just try to do both." So 1976, he's enjoying his life. He's got money. They buy a $125,000 home in a nice neighborhood, which back then was a nice house. That was a real house. Yeah. It's a real nice house back then, especially in Seattle. That wasn't expensive back then. And also a brand new Mercedes.
Oh,
living the life. They decorate the house with African artifacts. He buys a restaurant as well.
Uh-oh.
Looking for a way to lose that money quickly.
Yeah.
It's called the Heritage, and he renames it though.
What do you call it?
New Heritage. So
what is this? The Louisiana Purchase? What are we doing?
New Heritage. It's New Heritage. Fuck you. It's different now. And he hires his brother Ralph to manage it.
Okay.
So this is going to work out great. So the money is just pouring out after that. I mean, it's a restaurant.
Bleeding.
It's bleeding. So he was losing all his money, but he wasn't telling anybody he was going broke quickly. So Rudy Tomjanovich said he was in good spirits and really proud of the place. He said he visited the restaurant when he was playing for the Rockets, and they came to town. He came in to see him. He said it was impressive. They had entertainment and everything. They had like bands and acts and
like a restaurant.
Whole thing. But eventually, as Ralph Brisker put it, quote, "The IRS padlocked the doors. We owed $20,000 in taxes."
Oh, shit.
So the taxes got him good here. So Ralph went back to Detroit to be a salesman, his brother, and John stayed in Seattle. Now, he does go home to Detroit for 1976 Christmas.
Yeah.
Spends Christmas of 76 in Detroit, and Ralph said he seemed to be pretty jovial. He wasn't too upset. He was just concerned about his future.
Okay.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So June of 1977, he buys the Carlton Hotel
in
Seattle.
Seattle? Really?
Yes, he buys a hotel, which I don't know if that seems like a good move or not, but
you see those board up frequently, though, right?
Yeah, you need to have a lot of capital to put into a place like that. That's the thing. It's tough. It's really hard to have like a mom and pop hotel that you buy.
Yeah.
That's difficult. So November 1977, he wants to play for Seattle again. I think he's going broke, and that's the problem.
I am so tired of chasing the American dream by buying and selling businesses.
This is crazy.
Working. Buying and sinking businesses.
I'm so much better at scoring 30 points. So
you can't punch your way out of an IRS debt.
Yeah. Tell that agent to come over. We'll have a little chat with him. So the Sonics are getting their asses kicked a lot during this period, too. And there are chants that say, "Sign John Brisker, sign John Brisker" in the crowd. They want him bad. And he said he'd like to come back. Yeah. And the Sonics coach, Bob Hopkins, said he wants Brisker back, too. But the owner, Sam Shulman, said that he does not want to sign him at all. No interest. Brisker said he'd come back and play for as little as $75,000. He doesn't care. He just wants to play. He said, and the coach said, if I had my desire, I would probably have had him on the team a long time ago. I think John would be a great attraction. I think he would add immensely to what we need. So they said that Brisker was cut from the team because of personality conflicts with Bill Russell. He said, I have 10 pages of improprieties he committed when he was with us. That's the owner, Shulman. He said there was not a coach he could get along with. He caused dissension. So Shulman did say that if Hopkins really, really wants Brisker that bad, he would bend to his wishes eventually. He said he just, he's hoping that they can all come to an agreement and not have to sign him. He said, Brisker said, I've always had high hopes of coming back to the NBA and playing for a coach like Hopkins. There's a lot I could do in pro basketball, and I'm sitting here not doing anything. And for what? I know for what. It's because I want to play here in the city for these fans. That's why he's sitting there. So February of 1978, he has to sell the hotel.
Yeah.
He sells it, I believe, back to the old owners, if I'm not mistaken. He's facing lawsuits and unpaid utility bills and has to sell the downtown hotel, which was at 1552 Jefferson Avenue. If you're a Seattle person, maybe you can know what hotel is there now. But he said They said the supply of natural gas, water, and electricity will continue to the 118-room hotel and its occupants because the ownership's going to transfer. So the utilities companies have made a deal to allow they don't just shut it all down.
The basic bills of a hotel, he couldn't afford that.
The electric, things like that. Brisker said the situation that has erupted calls for our immediate attention. That's what he said. So no shit. So they end up because Washington Natural Gas had shut the gas off. So the mayor had to come in and go, can you please turn the gas back on? It's a hotel. We can't have tourists coming into town and going, when you go to Seattle, they don't have fucking heat. Please.
Lovely place. Cold as shit.
Coldish, even in the room. No, even in the room. Terrible. Jesus Christ. I'm just damp, cold. The company's director of governmental affairs said Brisker owes more than $1,600 in gas bills dating back to September. That's a lot for gas back then. So the company officials agreed to turn the fucking shit back on. He also owes $1,780 in back water and electrical charges.
$5,000 in utilities.
Yep. And then the former Carlton owner, Clifford Toski, sued Brisker's company in an attempt to repossess the building. He sold the hotel to Brisker for $280,000.
That's a deal.
But alleged that Brisker neglected the operation in failing to pay the utility bills, among other things. Yeah, they probably had bugs too. So, they said they showed up, and that's what's going on here. They're trying to make this work out. So he says, I've had to pay large sums of money just to keep the hotel going. The sale of the building is imminent. So it's fucking happening. But they said Brisker was still fucked because he faces several pending lawsuits from different things, from business stuff. Mutual of Seattle, Inc. sued Brisker, alleging he owes $21,300 in real estate commissions related to his purchase of the Carlton. At least 3 other suits are pending against him in connection with the purchase of a 1975 restaurant, the New Heritage House, which is, of course, closed now in 1975. He's being sued by 2 Seattle businessmen who sold him the restaurant for allegedly failing to make the payments on the restaurant that he bought from them.
He didn't even pay for the place before he closed it.
No, just not making any money. Also faces suits filed by a former employee who seeks unpaid wages, and an artist who said they were not paid for painting a mural at the restaurant as well.
Oh, my God.
Jesus Christ, this is a fucking mess. What a disaster. So February 27th, 1978, he has another daughter here with a new woman. Rashad is her last name. She was Melvis Diane Williamson and changed her name. So they have a daughter. March of 1978, he officially loses the hotel.
Uh-oh.
Officially loses it. He said he said, I've got a real headache on my hands. That's what no fucking shit. He owed all sorts of money. He said they issued eviction notices to the tenants. Brisker had just issued eviction notices to old people who live there as like their hotel. They live like as their apartment.
God, it's their home, yeah.
So the new owner's like, we had to pull all those back. It's a fucking mess. Big deal. So later in 1978, his wife, Michelle, not the woman he just had a baby with, but his first wife, she divorces him.
Okay. Probably because he's got a kid.
With another woman, I would assume. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it every time. They don't like that usually.
That'll certainly fuck your relationship.
They usually don't care for that when you pull that kind of shit. So he also made several trips to Africa with Udu Gray, a Nigerian emigre. So he started going to Africa. He returned from one of the trips and he was talking about buying a soccer team there.
No,
stop. Do
with
something.
Business.
Yeah, do something like not fun. It'll be better. Figure out how to do like smoothing and paving and shit. Like that'll make money. And that's what makes money. It's not fun. It's not sexy, but that's where you make money. Shit like that.
He went out and enjoyed himself doing things, and he was like, "I should get in this business. I love this.
Yeah, this is fun. I'd like to own this." He's like Mark Cuban.
In a hotel too.
Yeah.
I want to get the fuck out of it though.
I like basketball. I should just buy a team. Now, Michelle was objecting to these trips, which is one of the sources of friction in the relationship. She had filed for divorce in 1977, charging that John physically abused her.
Oh, shit.
According to divorce papers, Michelle said she's now deaf in her left ear as a result of a beating she received from John.
Oh, my God.
Quote, he bounced me around the wall and threw me on the bed. He smothered me with a pillow until I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. Jesus Christ. So in the divorce settlement, he is required to pay $700 a month in child support, plus all post-high school educational expenses.
Oh.
So he moves in with Khalila Rashad. That's the woman's name here. And they live together, and they have a baby together. He is saying at this point that he wants to establish an import-export business in Africa.
Okay.
So one there, one here.
Yeah.
So wait till you hear who he gets hooked up with to try to do this. So his 7-year-old daughter, he's still got the 7-year-old daughter from the first marriage here.
From Michelle.
Yeah. I guess there's a suit against him for child support, saying that he didn't pay $2,414 in child support and all this other shit. Mm-hmm. Either way, he ends up going over there. He calls Rashad, his girlfriend from Africa, 4 times in 1978. He goes over there and calls her. The last call she receives from him in Africa was from Kampala, Uganda on April 11th of this year. So his mother, Ernestine, and Ralph, the older brother, I don't know why I thought Ralph was the younger brother, but he's older.
He's older.
They said that they'd heard rumors that he's in Uganda with Idi Amin, because this is during Idi Amin's reign of fucking terror down there.
Yeah.
And they're saying he's hanging out with Idi Amin, talking about investing in diamonds. So,
What?
Yeah, or being a mercenary, or there's all sorts of different rumors going around. So the family just hears, where the fuck is he? He just, after April 11th, nobody hears from him anymore over there.
Huh.
Everyone's like, well, where the fuck is he? So his family actually goes to the State Department and the FBI to say, can you fucking look into our guy here?
Find him.
So they told the Briskers that they were unable to find evidence that he even entered Africa. They don't know whether he got there or not.
How did he do this?
If he was hooked up with Idi Amin, he could have came in quietly. We don't know. So it's crazy. His brother said, John told me he'd bought some land there, not in Uganda, but in Nigeria. He said it was something to have after his pro career, an investment type thing. Mm-hmm. So he left before nobody ever heard from him again. He left in March 1978 to go to Uganda with Ben Taylor, who's a friend of his from Seattle. He said he was going to lay the groundwork for an import-export business that he hoped would get his money situation turned around. Now, Rashad, his girlfriend, said he was having a bad time with creditors, etc. This was sort of his last try. She said, he said last time she talked to him on April 11th, he said he would send for us. He loved me. He loved the baby.
His last try. The guy is 30. What are we talking about?
That's what I'm saying. He's fucking 30. It's his last. They're acting like he's like 58. He's going to be he's going to break down and go live in the Y after this and just,
He's 30. What are we talking about?
Live on Thunderbird and Mad Dog or something. Like, he's 30 years old. This is.
How hard do you have to fail to your last shot is at 30?
He's like a year's worth of credits away from a college degree. Like, he's got a lot going for him. He's got a good name. He can go to Detroit. People know who he is. Pittsburgh. People know who he is. These are all good things.
Jesus.
Something fucking try. Open up a janitorial service where you're in charge, damn it. You're not the janitor now.
Yeah.
Hire other 11-year-olds to do this. So Spencer Haywood, there's a lot of different rumors, and here's some different rumors from different players. Haywood said that Brisker visited him in New York in the mid-'70s, and he's pretty sure he showed him a picture that John took with Idi Amin, but he's not 100% positive. Tom Burleson, one of his ex-teammates, said he went to Uganda and was as a mercenary, and he was fighting over there. That's another rumor.
Hands or he's got guns? What's happening?
Both. He throws the guns down and starts punching. Spencer Haywood again said people put the rumors out that he was caught up in that coup in Uganda because Idi Amin got overthrown after a while here, and that was during all of this. So they were saying, was he fighting on Idi Amin's side as a mercenary and got executed and thrown in a ditch somewhere?
Holy shit.
They don't know. So They have no idea. Time goes by. Seattle papers every couple months or so bring it up. Hey, where the fuck is John Brisker? We still can't find him. No one can find him. Right. Try to keep pressure on the State Department. There's one story that says that Brisker went to Uganda and became a bodyguard for Idi Amin, and that he was killed when Amin's government was toppled in April of 79. But then why would he stop calling after April of 78?
Right.
That wouldn't make a lot of sense. A year.
Right.
Yeah. So now here's another one. This is crazy here. Rudy Tomjanovich said he was told by a friend of a friend that knew Brisker well. So now we're getting into the friend of a friend, and he told me that game of telephone. But the rumor here amongst a big group of Brisker's friends is that he actually died in Jonestown in November of 1978. Jim Jones, Jonestown.
He got part of that?
Yes, because they said that the State Department said he never went to Africa. And there was rumors, and there's rumors about that too. Now, Ralph says he doesn't think so, but then listen to this. This is fucking crazy. Jonestown or Idi Amin? Well, how'd you die? This is how'd you go missing?
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
So
Both
Ralph,
are some pretty great stories.
Both are wild endings, I'll tell you that much. That's why it's a story we have to tell. Ralph said he doesn't believe the Guyana story, but listen to how he says it. Quote, I don't think John went down there. We had a great aunt who died there. So he had family member who died down there. You know what I'm saying?
He had a family member that died in Jonestown?
In Jonestown. She said she tried to get us to come down too, but we didn't go. She was trying to get the whole family down there. He might have went down there to hide out for a while, they're saying. They don't know. He said Ralph said she didn't drink the poison. I think they ended up saying they shot her. So she was one of the ones they shot, the aunt, rather than take the poison. So he's got a great aunt that died in fucking Jonestown, and they're saying that maybe that's what happened. So now Ron Medina, who's a retired manufacturer's representative, he's not a guy in basketball or anybody we've known, or you shouldn't. There's people, they search their hard drives like, did that come up earlier? No, you shouldn't know this guy. He said he saw Brisker at Heathrow Airport in London in the spring of 1978.
Yeah, and that's a guy you'd recognize. He'd stick out.
He said, quote, here was this big, tall black guy, and he had a Sonics bag. So that's him, and he couldn't get passage. I can't recall if it was to Seattle or somewhere else. I know he was on standby. I don't know if he was going to Uganda or somewhere else. He said that John didn't attempt to reveal or cover up his identity. Yeah. He said, we chatted for a few minutes. I mentioned I was from Bellevue, Washington, and I recognized him as John Brisker. He wasn't overly anxious to converse beyond that point. He doesn't fucking know you. So, yeah, he said that the State Department could not find him or Ben Taylor, the guy he left with. Both disappeared. They said, quote, "We made inquiries and we were never able to get confirmation. It's unusual that an American would disappear. It does happen, but it's usually somebody takes a hike into the Colombian jungle and never comes back. There aren't usually circumstances in which there is a reasonable expectation that he won't come back." So, yeah, it's usually circumstances where I'm going to do something dangerous, but he said, "I'm going to start an import-export business," and then he disappears off the face of the earth.
I'm going to go hiking in the most trafficked cocaine area.
I'm going to do that. I was going to go, if I find any tarpaulins or anything, it's no big deal. I'll just say hi to the guys. No, this guy's doing like a this is a different deal. He's
either going to Jonestown or to fight for Idi Amin.
Either that. He said he's just going to Art Vandelay a business over there, which is import-export. So he says that more rumors. Burleson said that the teammate, he went to Uganda and was a mercenary and was fighting over there. His wife went with him, and he was captured by Idi Amin's men. And Idi Amin had him prepared, and they served him and his wife banquet style. That's a rumor he had. Now, we know that's not true because his wife didn't go with him. Both of his wives were back home. He went with Ben Taylor, unless that was his new wife, Ben Taylor.
Unless he found a new wife there.
Unless he found a new wife, which is very possible because he was there for months. But
was Idi Amin a fucking cannibal?
That there was rumors of that, but we don't know. Who knows? Well, the episode isn't on Idi Amin, Jimmy. But you know what?
Great point.
Idi Amin was a professional boxer. You know that, right?
Yeah,
we will be doing a crime and sports episode on Idi
fantastic.
Amin. Yeah, so at some point we'll mention he possibly ate John Brisker as part of it.
Or served.
Yeah. So that's where the rumors go. Everywhere from he died in Jonestown to he has fought for Idi Amin and was killed to him and his wife were killed and eaten banquet style by Idi Amin and his people.
Listen, James, Brisker's not far off from brisket, so who knows? It may have been delicious.
Who knows? He sounds delicious. So, wow, here's another one. This is Watts, the guy teammate. He said, they said he was sitting at a table with one of those kings over there, and they had an argument, and Brisker wouldn't relate to the argument or agree with it. In that country, you don't dishonor the king, and Brisker had one of those grrr moments, and they said that the guy had his gun covered up like a turkey was in it. He moved it, and Pew shot him. That's the legend, anyway. A man with a gun stuffed inside a turkey shot him. That's the legend. Or he was eaten, or
shot by a turkey sandwich,
or Jim Jones killed him. One of the three.
Holy shit.
So now, by 1980, Ralph Brisker still believes his brother's alive and possibly a prisoner of war in Uganda. Okay. He said, if I saw him lying dead somewhere, I'd probably believe it more than just legally saying he's dead, which is what they're saying they're going to do soon. So the State Department spokesman, though, says that they don't consider him dead, even though the medical examiner in his home state's going to consider him dead for the purposes of settling his estate.
Yeah.
So, but James Callahan, who's a spokesman for the State Department, said no evidence he ever set foot inside Africa, let alone died there. And they said, essentially, we don't consider him dead till he pops up. So they said neither the Ugandan embassy, the International Red Cross, nobody could confirm he's dead.
Nobody's even seen him or heard from him.
So unless he was like in a mass grave or some shit like that, they don't. And even those, they went through those, a lot of them. I mean, I'm sure they're secret ones, but they said, what the fuck else could he be doing if he's not dead? And Ralph said he could be alive still. Quote, he had a lot of problems. He said he was in a lot of debt. He went incognito or something like that. I don't think he's in the States at all. He said he was interested in the black movement and trying to get some sort of idea what the motherland was like, roots and all that. He borrowed a couple books about Africa from me. He never did return them. I'm still trying to be optimistic, but this sort of takes it away from you. I think it's finally hit me. I'm sorry. And then Rashad, his girlfriend, wife, said, I think it's finally hit me. I'm glad it's over. I wish he could come back, but I think I have to accept the fact that he's probably not going to come back. It's been years. Every time the phone rings, I still hope it's him. Wow. So Rashad defeats Michelle Brisker, the ex-wife, for control of John's estate. But the only asset is his NBA pension, which will be worth $26,988 a year in 1992 and then up to $38,669 in 1997.
Okay.
So it's not bad, but it's not like you're getting millions of dollars. You're getting some money in a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Rashad said she filed suit to obtain $700 in monthly child support from Social Security. And also his daughter from his first marriage and his ex-wife are seeking $299,800, including $142,800 in child support. But that doesn't exist. He has no money. Right. So Michelle is seeking, that's his daughter. Now his ex-wife is seeking $102,600, including $25,000 in personal possessions and $10,000 in home furnishings. She's also seeking the return of $15,000 in artifacts she said Brisker took from the house, purchases that he made during one of his visits to Africa.
Everybody's just picking the bones of the
Picking
poor
the
guy
bone,
now.
and we don't even know if he's dead.
Yeah.
We don't even know if there's bones to pick.
He may have been, the bones may have been picked years ago by Idi Amin.
Idi Amin, those bones could be sitting with their feet up watching TV somewhere.
Yeah.
And, we have no idea.
On some African beach.
We have no clue. In June of 1985, though, a Superior Court judge in Bellevue declares him officially dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's a presumed dead at that point. A judge says, that's it. He's dead. Fucking done. So, but the medical examiner's office also says we haven't seen a body, so not like we know if he's dead.
No clues to lead that way other than where is he?
So the legend of where the fuck is John Brisker has become this big thing with all the players over the years exchanging theories and everybody that's known him. I heard this. Did you hear that? Big deal. Slick Watts says whenever he watches Shawshank Redemption, he thinks of Brisker. He said, I always think of him somewhere, kicking back and saying, I ain't dead. That's great. Tom Burleson says he thinks of him too. He said, I really hope through my foundation to get a scholarship in his name and just remember him.
His own Ziwantanejo somewhere.
That's it. It's happening. Spencer Haywood said he still has the conga drums that Brisker left with him in New York. He says for years he took those drums whenever he moved and always thought of Brisker whenever he played them. He said he was complicated more than most, but boy, did I love some John Brisker.
Mm-hmm.
So Haywood said he had to put his drums in storage, and they've been in storage ever since, sitting there. Now, in 2022, his daughter, Mijani, this first daughter, her daughter, Adria, I believe, Adria, she ends up playing sports here. She plays for, where is she? God damn it. Is she, what the fuck is she playing? Volleyball, I think, or something? She's doing something for, I believe, Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. Yeah. No, oh, shit. That's right. Somebody else was killed in a shooting in the whatever. Okay. So Idi Brisker is the one. She's the granddaughter here.
Okay.
She ends up playing basketball. Or no, she plays. What the fuck is she playing? I guess basketball. Morgan State women's basketball team she was on.
Got it.
Currently,
Morgan State?
Morgan State. Currently, 2022. Morgan State women's basketball team.
Does she
here.
play the tuba?
I don't know if she plays football and tuba as well. I was going to say that's a lot. So there you go. Now Jaquan is his grandson. Jaquan was drafted in the second round this year by the Chicago Bears, where he plays safety and had an interception this year, and he'll be playing for the rest of the year. Yeah, next week. He's got a game left.
That's John Brisker's grandson.
Yep, Jaquan Brisker is John Brisker's grandson.
How about that?
That's a bad fucking man right there. Watch out. Now,
they'll punch you in the mouth.
Can't get enough of John Brisker? What the fuck happened to John Brisker?
I want to know so bad.
So it's hard to find John Brisker like merch and autographs and shit because he died before all of those
that became a thing.
The whole 80s, 90s, autograph scene where he would have signed thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Well, yeah. He's here is it is MEM sports.com, and the number one in the beginning. John Brisker autographed 7.5 by 9 inch magazine page photo. And it's him doing this cool movie. Looks awesome, going up against a guy from Miami in their terrible uniforms here. And it's signed by John Brisker. $468.99 for this thing.
I kind of want that.
Yeah, it's on sale from $670. So
what if we call them and they're like $300?
Yeah, right. Let's try to make a deal here with these people. Maybe we can. There's only add to cart, buy now, or pay with Apple Pay. More payment options. Is there a haggle button I can
Is
click?
that the only thing that exists?
There's a couple, but they're really hard to find. There's just not a lot out there. I mean, all the autographs he would have signed would have been in 1975 at some game on a program or something.
Right.
There wasn't like the official.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there wasn't like official, like, oh, here's a bunch of 8x10 glossies with his autograph on them like we have now. Lawrence Taylor has 700,000 helmets that he signed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there'll always be LT autographs, which is cool.
Yeah.
But John Brisker, you're not getting one. So that, everybody, is John Brisker.
Holy shit, that's cool.
And one hell of a crazy story. He could still be out there, technically.
Yeah.
He could still be. Imagine that. He could still be out there. He'd be in his 70s.
That'd be pretty cool.
Imagine if he just popped up and punched us in the face. Come back. I'll take a punch in the face from a 75-year-old man if it makes you come back. I don't care. But that is cool.
That's pretty amazing.
You just see him in the stands at Soldier Field watching his grandson play football or something. Punch him, Jaquan. Damn it. Teach that boy nothing. Shit.
I want none of it to be true and him just be alive somewhere.
That'd be amazing.
Escaped all of this shit and the IRS and every debt that he owes.
Yeah.
The Washington Gas Company. Stick it up your
all
ass.
Of it.
I'm
all of
thriving
it.
in Africa.
Yeah. He's just sitting on a beach somewhere like the end of Trading Places.
Yeah.
Someone's going, feeling good, John? Looking good. Looking good, John? Feeling good. Lewis? So, yes, that's what's going to happen there. Very excited. There you go. There's John Brisker. Hope you enjoyed.
Wow, what a story. I'm so glad you did this one.
Fuck, it's so much fun. If you did enjoy, you can tell us and the whole world about it. Yeah. Get on whatever app you're listening on. Doesn't matter which one. They all help in their own way. Yeah. They all have their own charts. Give us 5 stars. Say something nice. Not for our egos, just a business thing. You definitely want to head over to shutupandgivememurder.com right now to get your tickets for all the live shows for Small Town Murder in 2023. The second half of the year will be going on sale soon, but get those seats for February 10th in Cleveland, February 11th in St. Louis. Yeah. Those are going extremely fast, and they're not going to make it till show day. So you definitely want to get your tickets now for those and all of them because there's shows selling out already. It's wild. Yeah. So thank you for doing that, first of all. Get in there, shutupandgivememurder.com. Follow us on social media. We are at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram. You definitely want that. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports is where you get all the bonus materials. We got 150 episodes of back bonus shit that you can binge on when you subscribe. And then every other week, anybody $5 or more is going to get 2 new episodes every other week.
Oh, yeah.
This week is no different. This week for Crime and Sports, you are going to get When Players Attack. Fans.
Yeah.
Somebody in the athletic prime of their life runs up in the stands and finds some 52-year-old fat guy with a hot dog in his hand.
And
what
a smart mouth.
We'll talk about what that physical confrontation ends up like, because that's fun.
Right.
Talk a lot about that. And then for Small Town Murders episode, we're going to talk about Nazis on drugs.
And it's not a ska punk band.
No, it is definitely not. It sounds like it, but it's not. Nazis, and we're going to talk about what the fuck were the Nazis taking? What was Hitler being injected with? What did Goering have on him when he was taken into Nuremberg, into the jails?
Terrific.
What stash of the world's drugs did he have all of? We'll talk all about it. It's pretty wild shit. Nazis on drugs. Patreon.com/Crime and Sports. Get in there and have some fun. And then you'll get a shout out as well.
Oh, you bet.
And where does that shout out happen? When does it happen? It happens right goddamn now, Jimmie. I would love you to. Yeah. Give me the names of these people.
I would love you too.
Who would never, I would love you very much, Jimmie, who would never, ever, ever, ever eat us with our wives after we went there to set up an import-export business, ever, okay? Hit me with the names of those people right now.
This week's executive producers are Robin Heyer. Keep going, Robin. She didn't explain what she's dealing with, but hang in there. It's terrific to have you.
You got this.
Italian Grandma Marilyn Brandfast, James. That's your the new one.
Nice.
Simon Frost and Mary Lou Valeron. That may be a misspelling. Mary Lou, thank you.
Thank you.
Other producers this week are Ginger Lee and her friends, Sheila Torres, Darcy. No, that's not Sheila. It's Suhila. it auto-corrected to Sheila. So your name is
weird.
now Sheila Torres.
There you go, Sheila. Enjoy
Darcy
your new name.
Standifer, Ann Lund, thinking of you. Peyton Meadows, Maria Coops-Sousley, Corporal Carl Kirshner, Jennifer Bohuis, Janice Hill, Maria Victoria Munoz, Brandy Huntley, Michaela Rotert. Happy birthday, DeLuca. I don't. There's no first name. That may be the first name. Who are we
happy
to
birthday.
judge?
Fuck it.
Joy Nix, Joynix. That is a first and a last name.
Wow, 6
done
letters.
in 6 letters. That's
Damn,
impressive.
not even half of my last name. That's it. Half
Zach
of my last
Dermid, Jennifer Falconer, Carl. Faynant. I'm
Fanante.
It's got to be a silent G. Brandon with no last name. Alicia Cox, Carolina Simmons, Troy Matz, Sabrina Durham, Will with no last name, Dan Morgan, and Andy Foster, I think. Beth with no last name. Tyler Haley. Yep, Victor Flores, Matthew Rhodes, Melissa Saldana, Jade Viger, I think. Oh boy. Julia Hot, Hogged. Hot.
One of those.
Nacho with no last name. Jude Kendall, Heather Duke, Amanda Gross maybe. Jennifer with no last name. Jared Kingston, Stephen DeForest, Rachel Sexsmith, Katie, nope, that's just Kate Ostrovsky. Justin with no last name. Lorianne Alala, Wes Clark with no, wait, that is the last name. Sarah Hill, Carrie McCown, Ryan with no last name, Rachel Crow, Nick with no last name, Nicholas Murphy, Kayla Scruggs, Davin Leslie Young, Jesus, Brett Persing, Flora Reichenstatter,
Yeah.
Reichnader, Matthew Leary, Angela Hirsch, David Chirino, Kelly Bard, Natalie Graber, Christina Lipinskis, Olivia Green, Erica Grand, Melinda Benson, Matt Adams, Jimmie with no last name, Nathaniel Lowe, Mike Tees, Kim Smiley, Eyes of Mary, Marion with no last name, Steve with no last name, Endelian Hopkintino. Nope, that's Endelian Hopkinton.
You thought you were on that one. Hopkintino? You made him Italian. Good job.
Ina Gurged, Christopher Begay, Charlie Brown, Logan Anderson, Charlotte Scott, Megan Troy, Carissa Vincent, Jen, maybe. CHR is an abbreviation for something. Kraus with no that's a last name.
Jeez,
what is happening?
Good Lord.
Jessica Detlefson. Like Detlef Schrempf, James?
Yes.
That's her last name is Detlefson.
Awesome.
Allison Knudsen, Amy Curino, Quinoa, Diamond Clark, yes. Kelly Vicole, Nikki Meyer, Vinny Peluso, Lindsay Peoples, Milsurp Hand Loader. Christopher the Rushing, Krista Raymert, I think, Wendy Warner, Alyssa Heister, Mary Tanner, Dane Livesay, Dawn Lingbeek, Tanya, Carly. I don't know anymore. Jared Hayes, Sierra Moore, Trent Carpenter, oh boy, Kaylin, Centillo, Kention.
Are those the same attempt at the same spelling of words?
Exact same try.
Okay. That was
Reese
another name.
Humphreys, Samuel Smothers, Tanisha Barlow, Maria with no last name, Nicole with no last name, Tony Q, Ellen Faller, Nicole Jackson, Brendan Wilsey, Siri Ann, Carrie Ann, Ricky with no last name, Ricky Crawford, Tony Green, Cassandra Bartz, I think, Mage McLeod, all right, Andrea with no last name, Michelle Hubbard, Jennifer Middlestat, Jason McGee, Dan Dietz, David Jordan, Corvus Jenko. His wife loves my laugh, evidently.
Who doesn't?
It's a raspy one. Jimmy Mack, 03, Kimberly DeVaglia, Amanda Farmer, Chris Moffitt, sat on a Toffet. Sterling Blakely, Nick Stevens, Alexander Osborne, Nora Harrington, Steve Koenig. I think it's Koenig. Carrie Jernigan, Taylor Wilson, Dale Langston, Mr. Trevor, and Oji Poji, Trish Ferries, Eric with no last name, Tiffany with no last name, Alika, that's not Alika, that's Alicia, right? With there's not an I there, it's just Alika. No last name. J.C. Robertson II, Destry and Mackenzie's mom, JESF412, Misty Monroe, Marky B, Terry Rogers, Sam Elzabi, Katie with no last name, Brandy Martin, Annika with no last name, Donna Davis, Tarnia, is that right? Wolnoff, maybe. Lisa with no last name, Jay Jeanette, Nancy Puglisi. What is that, James? That's Italian, right? Pugliese? Pugliese. Is that Pugliese? Pugliese.
Keep trying, Jimmy, because this is the best thing ever.
Pugliese.
It's probably, Pugliese, yeah.
Pugliese. It sounds gross. Paul Evenden, Christine Kruer, Susan Cotton, Billy Martins, Aiden
I love it so much.
Valerie C. and all of our patrons. We do love it so much.
Thank you, everybody, so much from the bottom of our hearts, honestly, for all that you do for us. If you want to follow us individually on social media, like people, very easy to do that. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. All the links are right there under the whole links thing. So we're in there. Find us. Keep coming back and seeing us on Crime and Sports because we're sticking around. And, I love it to say it, live from the Crime and Sports studios. We will see you next week.
What?
If you like Crime and Sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.